What's poppin', y'all? It's your girl Ty the Illest, and I'm back with another video. Another bit of advice and a whole lot of Jesus for y'all. The more and more I do this, the more and more I'm learning. So I hope you guys are learning too, because it's really cool and very eye-opening, not gonna lie. It makes a lot of things in my life and life in general make sense. So today I'm reading the book of Nahum, or Nahum as some say. This is my first time really reading it in-depthly. And it talks about civilization of people in Nineveh. So this is 150 years after Jonah preached in Nineveh, to Nineveh. And then God sends Nahum, who I believe is a prophet of some kind. Correct me if I'm wrong, but God sent him to come and preach to the people of Nineveh during their darkest hour, when they were committing sins and worshiping idols, all that stuff. So Nahum comes and preaches this, a verse that you guys may recognize. Nahum 1 verse 7, "The Lord is good, a refuge in times of trouble. He cares for those who trust in him." So even though the people in Nineveh weren't deserving of God's grace, he still gave it to them in their darkest hour in the way that they did not expect. Now, I didn't read that far yet, but when I wrote down the explanation of what Nahum 1 verse 7 meant to me, I wrote here, Nahum is explaining the grace of God towards Nineveh. Although he was furious about their sin, God showed them grace in dark times. Kind of like what's going on in the world, and has gone on time and time again. And even still, in our darkest hour, when we are committing sin and worshiping idols who care nothing about us, God is merciful, because he loves us, and will show the works of his glory in areas that we least expect. So we all must pay attention to every detail and moment of our lives, and the little things and the big things around us. What I learned from that is, when you make mistakes, when you commit a sin, when you worship an idol, when you do things that just hurt God, you'd very well be deserving of his wrath. We all are. But it's because of his grace and his love for us that he puts that aside, because he loves us. You know, like when we say that God is our Heavenly Father, we mean that. You know, like I look at my relationship with my dad. Even though my dad would get mad at me sometimes, he would put our differences aside and just talk to me straight up, and, you know, be there for me and provide and have my back, just like God does for us. So that's why you shouldn't take their anger nor their grace for granted, because they could very well get angry. God could very well get angry. You don't want to see him when he's angry. He doesn't want you to see him when he's angry. That's why you have to humble yourself at his feet and be grateful that he's gracious, because he's always going to love you, and he's always going to be there for you, and he's going to show up every time. You just got to trust him and trust the process. I love y'all.